Anyhow, so it was the crony capitalism. Crony capitalism means me, my friend, and etc. Only few can deal with politics, and this is the power system. So it reinforced the system of power system over the state. While there was the tsunami coming, this was stupid. 2005 happens, losing Lebanon. And this was the first major mistake showing that Bashar al-Assad was a stupid man. He was young, he was supposed to understand young, he's 10 years younger. And his major mistake in the crisis of Lebanon, there was 10 tents inside Beirut after the assassination of Hariri, of people feeding tomorrow. He came up on TV and he said, what is these guys with the tents? They are nobody. Zoom out on them and you will see that they are nobody. This is a stupid man in politics. Even if you take his own point of view to dominate. If he was a wise man, he would say, I'm a young like you, this is a conspiracy, and come to me, and etc. Why saying stupid things? So Samir Aita went with a slogan which launched the revolution of the cedars. So zoom in, zoom out, Syria. This don't translate this in Arabic means fuck you. However, we are many. We want to take you out. And this was the first blow. And this is why he was killed. And this is why I inherited from the monde diplomatique. He was my friend. So, this 6 years before what's happening in Syria explained the whole mentality of the thing. A president getting in mind with kids. Don't take too worldly the word kids. 20 years old, wanting everything in life. You cannot go and say you are nobody. They are everybody, especially if demographic side. They are everybody. You have to deal with them. He did not understand, as a politician, as a leader of a country, what are these people. And he took his country to hell. So, but anyhow, the result of this is that Syria had, as a system, who was playing in the surrounding, had its first blow up. Means, even inside his own system, people were saying, this guy was not able to handle politics like how the father was handling it. And this was a major problem. So, 2010 started the Arab Spring, and for something like 8 months, they were saying, oh, no, the Arab Spring is not for us. Nothing will happen in Syria. And they was in denial for 8 months. While everybody was showing on TV how easy it was to throw regimes. And it's just going into the streets and stick in the streets. And this is, even comparatively to European history on strikes and etc., this was an event in history. What brings millions of people to stay in the streets, to stand even when many forces crack on them, and then you say, okay, we will stay here until the departure of the regime. And one just funny story in this. The Syrian regime until now didn't cut, only in a few moments when they hit a city and locally, didn't cut internet and mobile phones. You know why? Because they learned the lesson of Egypt. The biggest demonstrations in Egypt came when they cut mobile phones and internet. Because everybody was having the kids in the streets, they were looking for the kids. So millions were there looking for friends, for their sons. Believe me, this is how it happened. Millions were in the streets because they cut the internet and the mobile phone. Means, imagine all you hear on Al Jazeera and on TVs, and your sons and daughters, 17, 18 years old, are in the streets, and you have no way to contact them. Like before, they used to use the ring. So the ring, they don't go because they don't have money. Then everybody was looking for everybody. And this was a major phenomenon. They didn't cut in Syria the mobile phone and the internet, just because of this. If they cut it, tomorrow everybody will look for everybody. This is... And then we have the 1 year and 6 months, 7 months already event, the civic and peaceful uprising, which began civic and peaceful, I will talk about it, and transformed to full-fledged revolution. In the beginning, after the Dir'a started in the town south of Damascus, nobody wanted to topple Bashar al-Assad, the first demonstration. Nobody was talking about Bashar al-Assad. They were talking about his cousin, the crony capital. They were talking about his brother, the hated military guy who came and broke on this way. But nobody touched the president. And 2 months later, he was the guy to think. So, would that be in the wake of reform? 18 months, no issue. To tell the story short, it started in Dar'a Quran with people imitating what they saw on Al Jazeera. They wrote on a wall, the people want to topple the regime. They took 12, 13 years old. They signed what they wrote on the wall. They took them to the security services. They tortured them, and the people were looking for their sons, always the same phenomena. They came to Atif Najib, who was his own cousin. The family came. The family regime could not admit at any time any failure in the coherence of the family regime, because this is the end. One brother can sell the other. So, and he told the people, go and make other children. This was how it started. And he could only solve the problem by jailing this stupid Atif Najib that he used to say to his own aides that this is a crazy man, his own cousin. He didn't jail him. And it spread. 1 month later, the people asked to topple the regime. The regime reacted to the spreading from one place to the other. There were demonstrations, mainly in small cities in the area. So there was a characteristic where Damascus and Aleppo and the big cities were not moving. The cities, the smaller cities, which received all this big demographic, both growth and coming from the countryside, were showing the biggest demonstration. But it spread all the way over Syria with really peaceful things, and coordination started to be reacted, and people who did not know each other. It means there were coordination as much as there was quarters, and even in some areas there was several coordination depending on them. So it spread away. They shooted on people. Some wise guys inside the government tried to help. In Hama, there was a governor who helped after having the big million things he was thrown away because he had. Others negotiated deals. And we go on certain moments with our demonstrations and etc. And always I received from some coordinations because I know some of the guys in the power system. I used to, at this period, to receive phone calls. They send us this guy as a messenger. Could we believe him? And my answer was, the messenger, yes, but the guy who wrote the message, I don't know, I will not believe him. The problem is not with the guy who is transmitting the message. It's with the guy who wrote the message. And the problem of Bashar al-Assad at this period, that he treated locally a problem which was becoming national. Means he wrote the people of Douma saying talk, etc. And then they have different problems. Things like regime guys took over their lands, And they say, okay, we will solve this and solve this and we'll solve this as a local problem, not a national problem. He didn't see the development of the thing being, and he continued to say, I will treat it locally. But he was not able, because at each moment, he has to give up on its own clientele. If he takes the land, one of the major problems between Ma'adamiya and the 68, you know, Alawi and this. One is clientele and the other is poor people. They took their land. And if they give the land back or the money back for the land from his clientele, he will lose his clientele. He never chose this. And the security said, you cannot do this because we will need them in the second step. So he cannot even solve the problem locally. This is what happened. But until now, there is no politics. And there was some of the political parties who were shouting. But let me give you one example. One of the major components of the SNC today is not the Muslim Brotherhood who are outside of Syria. Is the Party of the People, Old Communist Party of the Turk, was one of the bravest guys. He used to send me as an economist their economic programs. The last one was 3 months before the revolution. And they were praising and saying thanks to Bashar al-Assad policies. They didn't see the problem. And now they are talking about the legitimacy of revolution. They didn't see the whole phenomenon. They were praising Bashar al-Assad 3 months before. It's the biggest revolutionary on earth today. And there is a problem of consistency. At least Mandela was consistent from the beginning to the end. Anyhow, so there was no politics. The politicians didn't understand politics. What happened is some of the guys of the old Damascus Spring came and gathered the politicians, saying, let's make kind of coordination of politicians. And this was going on. The regime gets angry and asked for a national dialogue. What is funny is this national dialogue in June, I mean 3 months after the revolution, which could have been a way to solve the problem. And what happened is that the own negotiators, named by the regime, finally wrapped up with conclusions that the regime could not accept. And Brahim Naraji, one of the smartest guys, was moved away from the system. He still lives in Syria. But even, it's the same phenomenon as in 2001. Means even the regime guys were convinced of what should have been to do, and the regime didn't follow. So the national dialogue allowed. You have always the regime saying, all these politicians don't want to talk with us. Yeah, we talked with you. Even with the talk of the national dialogue, your own conclusions were changed that you cannot admit. Means even though. Starting from June, the things become more complicated. And it was clear that you needed a political body to represent this youth movement. So there was a fight, and a big fight on the political body. It started locally. And there was something called the National Coordination for Change created in July, just 1 month after the national dialogue. And most of the guys of the today SNC was there, and the other party. But then started to have conferences in Turkey, in Qatar, and so the building of politics has brought up the conspiracy. Means the involvement of foreign powers. Who was financing? The question was, who was financing all these conferences in Turkey? And why in Turkey, not in Egypt? It was fun to organize something in Egypt in the middle of the Egyptian revolution with Tahrir Square. When you have meetings in Cairo, excellent. You go from your own hotel and see revolution inside. This is the best place. Well, there is no revolution in Turkey.